You've probably never thought about who owns the cemetery down the street from you.
Maybe you assume it belongs to a church or the city or some quiet nonprofit that just takes care of things. That's what most people believe. But right now, some of the biggest investment firms in the world are quietly buying up cemeteries, and they are not doing it out of respect for the dead. Shock! They're doing it because a cemetery, once it's full, can keep making money for 100 years without selling a single new plot. That sentence alone should stop you. A business that earns more money the longer it exists, even after it stops selling its main product. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll never look at a graveyard the same way again. Here's what almost everyone assumes. You think a cemetery makes its money by selling burial plots. Someone dies, the family buys a piece of land, the cemetery pockets the fee, and that's the business. Simple, right? Except that's not actually where the real money is. That's just the bait. The real business is something most families never even hear explained clearly. When you buy a plot, a portion of what you pay, sometimes 15%, sometimes far more, doesn't go to the cemetery at all. By law, in most places, it goes into something called a perpetual care trust. That money gets invested, and only the returns, the interest earned on it, can be spent on maintaining the grounds. Forever think about what that actually means. A cemetery isn't selling you a plot. It's opening a savings account that never closes, funded by strangers, for the next 100 years. Every burial adds another deposit. And because a cemetery can hold thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of plots, that trust fund can grow into millions of dollars sitting in the market, quietly compounding, whether anyone visits the graves or not. Now here's where it gets interesting for the people actually buying these businesses. Once a cemetery is fully sold out, once every plot is taken, most people assume the business is finished, dead, in every sense. But that's exactly the opposite of what happens. A sold-out cemetery still owns that entire perpetual care trust, still earns the investment income from it, and now has almost no expenses left tied to selling anything. No sales team, no marketing, no competition for new plots, just decades of low-cost, high-margin cash flow. Investors don't see a graveyard. They see a bond that pays out for a century, but land and trust funds are only half the picture. The bigger money, the part that actually built companies like Service Corporation International into a multi-billion-dollar empire, comes from something else entirely. Bundling, a cemetery on its own is decent. A cemetery attached to a funeral home is a completely different animal. Because now, when a family walks in during the worst week of their lives, they're not making one purchase. They're making 6 or 7, often within the same hour. The plot, the vault, the headstone, the urn, the service, the flowers, the obituary printing. Each one priced separately, each one with its own margin, and almost none of it comparison shopped. Because grief is not a state of mind where people negotiate. This is where behavioral economics quietly takes over. Psychologists call it decision fatigue combined with emotional urgency. Families are exhausted, overwhelmed, and terrified of seeming cheap in front of relatives during a funeral. So they say yes. Yes to the upgraded casket. Yes to the premium plot near the tree. Yes to the engraved bench. Studies on funeral spending have found that the difference between the cheapest and most common package chosen by families can be several $1,000s. And almost none of that gap comes from necessity. It comes from psychology. And the industry knows this so well that many companies now sell what's called pre-need planning, convincing people to buy their own funeral arrangements decades before they die. On paper, it sounds thoughtful, even kind. Plan ahead, save your family the stress. But financially, it's genius. The company gets paid today, invests that money for 20 or 30 years, and only has to deliver the actual service once the person eventually passes. It's not that different from how an insurance company operates. Collect premiums now, pay out later, profit from everything that happens in between. Here's the number that usually surprises people the most. The largest death care companies in the world often carry profit margins higher than most retail businesses, sometimes north of 20%, in an industry most people assume is barely scraping by out of respect for the deceased. It isn't scraping by. It's one of the most quietly recession-resistant businesses on Earth, because no matter what the economy is doing, people keep dying at roughly the same rate. Demand never disappears. It never even dips. That's the part that pulls investors in like nothing else. Most businesses live and die by whether people want to spend money. Restaurants need appetite. Airlines need travel demand. Retail needs discretionary income. Cemeteries need none of that. Demand is guaranteed by biology, not by the economy, not by trends, not by consumer confidence. You can have a recession, a pandemic, a stock market crash, and the death rate barely moves. Try finding another industry with that kind of certainty. Of course, there's a darker side underneath all of this. Because the business relies so heavily on emotionally vulnerable customers, it has also attracted real predatory behavior. There have been cases, some involving major operators, where perpetual care funds were mismanaged or underfunded, leaving cemeteries without enough money to maintain themselves decades later. Some smaller, independently owned cemeteries have simply been abandoned once they became unprofitable, leaving graves overgrown and families with nowhere to direct their anger. Regulations have tightened because of exactly this, requiring stricter trust fund rules and clearer pricing. But enforcement varies wildly depending on where you are, which brings us back to why investors specifically love this industry right now. Consolidation. A handful of large death care corporations have spent the last 3 decades buying up small, family-run funeral homes and cemeteries across the country, one at a time, quietly, without much public attention. Why? Because a single independent cemetery might make a modest income, but a company owning 400 of them, with shared trust fund management, shared purchasing power on caskets and vaults, and centralized marketing, suddenly starts behaving like a real estate and insurance conglomerate, wearing a very somber disguise. So when you walk past a cemetery next time, here's the shift in how you should see it. It's not a resting place that happens to make a little money on the side. It's a long-duration financial asset funded by grief, protected by law, insulated from recessions, and built to keep paying out decades after the last plot is sold. The land under those headstones isn't just holding memories. It's holding a trust fund that keeps growing whether anyone is watching or not. People think they're buying a piece of ground for someone they loved. What they're actually buying into, without ever realizing it, is one of the most quietly profitable long-term financial instruments in modern business.